Arrows. They are the most important part of your gear. You can spend thousands on the best bow you can find. You can buy the best stabilizers, you can buy the best sights, you can get 1,000 different release aids and slings. You can even spend days, weeks, months, years practicing your form. But if you haven't got a good arrow, you're not going to hit your target. Okay, so you've just got a bow. Maybe you're new. You don't want to spend a huge amount of money on arrows. So you go on eBay, you go on Amazon, and you see something like this. Looks kind of nice. I mean, you know, there's not much of a distinction, but you can see the cock vein. You can get this type of arrow with real feathers, with synthetic feathers. It's got a nice knocking point, safety tips or whatever you're using. It's a fiberglass arrow, so it is very cheap. There's a reason why fiberglass arrows are very cheap. Now, I can't condemn that much because I've had a lot of them myself, and they've always gone the same way. No tip. And it's not because I pulled the tip out, it's not because I was shooting a high density foam target, it's because I shot a bag of clothes, I think a bag of old jumpers. And after a while, the fiberglass shaft just splits. I mean, obviously it's a good way of losing tips, but it does potentially add a lot more danger to archery. You get a little bit of fiberglass stuck in you, that's going to cause a lot of problems. In addition to that, if you tend to shoot a little bit close, you get really good groups, obviously that's brilliant. Maybe you're Robin Hood, okay, from the moment, that's brilliant. I mean, that's what most archers dream of doing, just straight after another. Maybe you just have an arrow that flexes a little too much. Either way, you've got an arrow going through an arrow and you've broken fiberglass off. Maybe it's gone on the floor, maybe it's gone in the target, maybe it's sticking out the good arrow and you just haven't picked up on that particular bit of fiberglass. So they're cheap, they're not a good buy. Save up a little bit, save a bit more, and buy some decent arrows. You can buy decent wooden arrows for fairly reasonable prices. You can buy decent carbons for fairly good prices, or aluminium arrows for, again, fairly good prices. You can go to the extreme and spend stupid money on an arrow, which, okay, but yeah, fine. If you've got that money, then go for it. But there are alternatives to really expensive high brand arrows. So which arrow is for you? It does kind of depend on what type of shooting you want to do. If you're a traditional shooter, shooting a traditional bow, you're likely to have a wooden arrow. Generally, these are the types of arrows I shoot when I shoot my traditional horse bow. They are what they are. They are a solid bit of wood. They do the job. But it does lead to slight inconsistencies. For example, this wooden arrow shoots and acts differently than this wooden arrow. Now, you can say that maybe it's because of the feathers, there's a different feather design, but that's not quite it. They are meant to be both the same spine, but ultimately it's because it's two different woods. It's come from two different trees, so they're just not going to shoot the same. And honestly, I didn't shoot that many of these because from this bunch I got, the arrows didn't seem to go in the same place either. So even within the same bunch, my arrows tend to veer off. Now, I know this because I didn't just use it as an excuse. I marked the arrows and it was always the same one or two that were going to the left more. was always the same, 3 and 4, they were going to the right more. So that did kind of put me off wooden arrows. Having said that, I still prefer to shoot these types of arrows whenever I've got a traditional bow. As far as every other time when I'm shooting a recurve, I'll go for these. I will go for carbons. I mean, this is a trad carbon. It looks like a wooden arrow, but it's got all the benefits of carbon arrows. Carbon arrows act the exact same way in the air. They act the exact same way when you shoot them from whatever bow you're shooting from. I like feathers, so I have feathers. The advantage of feathers is that feathers react quicker in the air. So you can shoot off the shelf, you can shoot off an arrow rest, or you can put it on your hand and shoot off your hand. And it's not that big of a deal. Going a little bit into feather size, feather designs, mostly the shape and the look of a feather is aesthetic. It doesn't really do much. It's much the same as the colours, really. You'll have the cock feather colour being different to the other two, but again, that's not really a must. If you're going to take your time and go a little bit slower, you don't need indication as to which the cock feather is, because you're going to be taking your time with it. It is really just for show. But size, however, the old man joke, size does make a difference. Generally speaking, the shorter feathers are much better for longer range. This arrow is done, the feathers are quite further down. 3 fingers is a fair bit. I know some people like it and they use the feather as an actual anchor point on their nose or somewhere along their cheek. However you like to anchor, really, as long as it works for you, it's fine. But generally speaking, a shorter feather is much better for longer distance because there's less drag. It's not to say that this arrow with its longer feathers will be bad for long distance, but the shorter feathers are certainly an advantage, and in competition shooting that does tend to make all the difference.